For those of you that maybe forgot, if you follow me on Facebook, we talked yesterday about the 7th and what happened in Israel. So just take a moment to think about what they went through, what they're still going through. A lot of those people have not gotten their loved ones back, either whether they're alive or whether they've gotten the remains back, but they're still negotiating that with Hamas from the Gaza Strip. But that's a terrible thing to happen to our allies and our friends in the Middle East. So, a couple of things. The Dow's up. If you're watching the stock market, things are going pretty well. The Dow was up this morning, 46,979. It went to 47,020 the other morning. It's up 127 going into this morning at 6 o'clock. S&P is 67.71, up 950. NASDAQ's up 25,063, up 0.50. Remember, we always talk about this. Remember when we were tracking gold, what it was? Anybody remember?
Amen.
Like 1651 or 1650 when we started tracking. Anybody know what it was this morning?
At least four.
$4,067.80, up 61.80 this morning. Oil was at 62.46, making some gains there. Nationally, what's going on in New York?
Comey pleaded guilty.
What's that?
You're not guilty. Comey.
He pleads not guilty. We'll see how that pans out because he pleads not guilty and says let's have the trial. I kind of have a feeling that Bondi's probably better prepared than he realizes. So we'll see. What else is going on in New York? Mondami. Everybody that if you have any family friends in New York, the city, you better give them a call. This guy has enough people that there's givers and takers in life. We are givers. We work and we contribute to, and there's takers. And they'll take and take and take and take and take until there is no more. And I'm trying to think if it was Margaret Thatcher that said the only thing wrong with socialism, nothing wrong with it until you run out of other people's money. And that's what's going to happen to New York. And people are saying, well, everything's going to be fine. He's going to have free bus rides. He's going to do away with charter schools. He's going to do away with the gifted program for children that are low income but show a potential to be much, much better than normal. Well, now, anybody know there's a group of people that are leaving New York, and they're going to Florida and they're going to Texas. Anybody know who they are?
Smart businessmen.
Say it again.
Businessmen.
The business people and the financiers. JP Morgan has more people working in Texas now than they have in New York City. So when you see that transition happening, when those people, the hedge fund managers who are all billionaires and multimillionaires, they start moving elsewhere, guess what happens to what's left? You guys have heard me say, 100 people paying taxes, 20 people leave. The 80 people that are left have to pay higher taxes to maintain the services. New York will be a mess. Now, unfortunately, the other person that's standing in the wings with that is Cuomo. He's kind of the lesser of two evils, but I think he's workable. And then Curtis Sliwa, who had the Guardians that went around to the subways and kind of cleaned things up. He's kind of like my choice of the three. Can he do it? I don't know at this point because the media is really drumming up that socialism, free this, free that, better housing. I mean, it's a utopia for people that don't want to work. And I just don't know. I had a video sent to me the other day where they went down 4 or 5 people, and they got 2 policemen, and they took a video, and they went through a subway, they're actually going down into where you access the stuff. Oh my God, guys, you should have seen it. There's just like crap everywhere, and the homeless people are in there all night long, and that's where they expect you and I to walk down to catch the subway train. And then maybe a day or 2 later, this guy comes back and said, I just got another one from Portland, where the mayor's there saying he doesn't need the National Guard. Well, the video from the one in Portland was every bit as bad as the one in New York City. So for whatever reason, these mayors and so forth are saying, we don't need the National Guard, we don't need the National Guard, and the media's picking up on that, but the people are saying, my God, please, come, correct this situation. So, I don't know, he wants to defund the police. New York City has several groups of police officers that have already been defunded. He wants to do with them all together. There's something terribly wrong with that. So, I don't know. We'll see. But the financial jobs leaving New York City, There's another place in the world that wants to be the financial capital of the world. Anybody know where that is? Dubai. Dubai wants to be the financial capital of the world, and when we lose that influence, trust me, it'll come back and buy us. It's gonna have a problem for the United States. New York's losing population. I think they're down 440,000 people. 440,000 people in the state. I don't know what probably the city of New York is, but I'm sure it's substantial. It's a very big problem. What's happening with the government shutdown? Just so we get that all cleared out. What's going on with the government shutdown, and why is the government shut down? Come on, don't be afraid to be wrong. We can learn this together.
Big fight over Obamacare and the supplements that they wanna continue this mess.
Big
For
fight.
free.
For the.
And the left is also trying to push bills for like transgender surgeries in Africa and ridiculous shit.
Exactly. A lot of our money is being earmarked as part of that bill, and when the big beautiful bill came out, it took those things out. And now they're saying, well, they control the House, they control the Senate, they got the presidency, why don't they just take care of the whites? The government shutdown's their fault. What's the reason it's not their fault? Anybody know?
You need 60 senators to pass and then.
You need 60 senators, and we've only got 53. So some Democrats are saying, like, you know what, we ought to take a look at this because this is a problem. But now Trump has kind of laid a trap out there, and now the Democrats have stepped into it, because what's going to happen?
Oh, yeah.
The waste, fraud, and abuse that's out, what's that, Greg? Go ahead.
A lot of them's not hired back.
Sure.
Yeah.
The waste, fraud, and abuse that aren't absolutely positively necessary, he may not hire them back. So guess what? It could turn out and work to our advantage. And we were talking the other night at dinner, one of the biggest problems we have with our economy is workforce participation rate. I'm not gonna go to work for $20 an hour if you're gonna give me $17.50 to stay home. So if we can alleviate that to where you don't eat, you don't work, you don't eat, guess what? Maybe that'll change some things. So the fact of the matter is, this could work out to our advantage, and I personally believe that's the good Lord has his hand on what's happening. I believe that. So we'll talk quite a bit about that. Before I forget it, and I usually do lead up to Mon County's having their dinner on the 16th. I think it's $100 a person. And I'm sure the bulk of that, you can have a table for 1,000 in bronze, but it's $100 a person. But Joey Jones is gonna be there. And I would say probably the bulk of that money will go to pay for Joey Jones coming. I know whenever, Judge Janine Pirro came, when Judge Janine Pirro came in, it was like $12,000 to get her here. You fly her into Pittsburgh, they picked her up, they brought her down. So those celebrities, they get that, but you get a good turnout and Mon County makes some money. Several people have been recruited to run against Joey Garcia, but the big hindrance to run against Joey Garcia is that Mon County is so liberal. So do you jeopardize a seat or jeopardize a candidate for a situation that may not be able to win it? Because the outlying areas of Mon County are pretty much they're kind of purple to red. Once you get into where the population is right in Morgantown, they're very liberal. They're all about diversity, equity, and inclusion, and it makes it very difficult. What do you got, Lonnie? There you go. So if you can make that thing, if this is the only one I got, you're welcome to look at it, but please don't take it. That's the only one I have. What happened this last night between Trump and the Prime Minister of Canada? Anybody see that, or anybody understand that, what's going on with them?
No deal reached.
No deal reached, but they're gonna go in today, and what happens is like some of those, we have like a 50% tariff on them, and we can make it down to like 35%. So it's gonna be better for us financially, also better for them financially, but the trade will be a little more equal. I had no idea about this, started digging into it. They kill us on dairy products. I mean, it's like a 400%, thank you, Gene, it's like a 400% markup on anything that's dairy related if we take it into Canada. And here you have all Wisconsin and Michigan and all that with dairy, and when they try to go to Canada, they have put the tariffs on them to keep their farmers working. Well, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. Trump's smart enough to look at it and say, okay, then here's what we're gonna do to you. So he said yesterday in a quick, I guess a little meeting there in the Oval Office, he said, I think we're both gonna be much happier with what the result is. But people are saying these tariffs are killing us. Anybody know what's pending with the tariff money? Anybody have you heard anything about that?
$1 billion already?
It's like $168 billion thus far, but does anybody know what might happen down the road if this maintains? Once we get them locked in, what could happen to each of you?
$2,000.
You can get a $2,000 check. That's pretty good. And people say, that'll never happen. Does
No
anybody?
income tax,
What's that?
and no income.
And no income tax. We use that money to offset the income tax. Does anybody remember, Sarah Palin, when she was in Alaska?
Yeah.
What did she do in Alaska with the oil, natural gas?
She started paying the citizens.
Everybody got a check for like $1,750. Well, you know what? Here's an industry that we need that strengthens a nation, and I get a benefit from it, okay? So, along those lines, how many of you have heard about the Mid-Atlantic Mid-Atlantic Resilience Line?
Moral.
Marl, it's a power line coming from Pennsylvania to Virginia. Have y'all heard about it?
Yeah.
A lot of contentious issue. What's the one real drawback about it right now? I didn't even put that down, but that's, we don't need to talk about that. What's the real drawback with the Morrill pipeline as currently
Going through
proposed?
Preston County,
What's that?
going through Preston.
Go through Preston County, go through some of the eastern panhandle, once we go to Virginia,
Part of Bond County goes.
part of Mount County, the upper corner, right?
Hampshire County, Mineral County.
But what's the real drawback right now for
We
us?
don't benefit anything from it.
Excuse me, we will not benefit anything as West Virginians, other than the fact that the company that's putting it in could be increasing our utility bills to foot the bill for it.
Yeah.
So we had a meeting and I said, wait a minute. Any negotiation would say, I'm getting something long-term. Because as the value of that supply and demand, as the value of that demand goes up, we should get more and more for us, like every 5 years, look at it or whatever the case may be. So Morrissey has supposedly, well, not supposedly, he has said that we're gonna try to say, if it doesn't benefit for us, we're gonna put a hold on it. Well, one of the guys from the Eastern Panhandle spoke out, because in the Eastern Panhandle, they live in a different world. They're operating from money from Virginia. People work in Virginia and live in West Virginia for the tax break, so it's ideal word for them. But the thing about it is like, you remember a couple years ago, we had natural gas everywhere. And the Northeast wanted it in the worst way because they were cold, and they were worried about winter, and they needed natural gas. And who said you can't put a pipeline through our state? New York. So now we're gonna say, wait a minute, if you didn't use eminent domain for our gas producers to get it to New England where it was needed, then we're gonna push back on possibly an eminent domain proposal to come across West Virginia. But you've got some people out there that are like, they're lobbyists for these power companies involved, and they're gonna tell us how great it is, has lots of potential. But we're saying, if you wanna put it through our state, that's fine, but we wanna spur here, 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 and here. Because right now, site readiness is a big deal to get industry in here. We're placed right in the middle of like 65% of the population, 18 hours drive time, you can be there. But if you give us those spurs where we can say to a big industry, we've got 75 acres here and access to unlimited amount of electricity, then that's good for us. That's the way I'm gonna see this thing going forward, otherwise I think there's gonna be a problem, I really do. Who knows Jack Smith? He knows him. He probably did some of that work years ago in a different vein, I'm sure. But who's Jack Smith? Jim, tell us.
He's the special counsel that did Operation Arctic Frost,
Arctic
where they illegally listened to everything else. And as you're talking about Comey, who if they want to hang him, I want to pull the rope, and just intercepted telephone conversations. They got information on, I think it was 8 or 9 senators.
Nine
Followed up on those
senators.
people, all done illegally. Everything that they did was illegal, and Patel fired them. Amen.
Yeah. And the thing about it is that there's probably a lot more to come on that. Lindsey Graham was the chairman of Judiciary, and they tracked his phone, I think, from the 4th of January to the 7th. And, it's unheard of. So we'll see what comes of that. But Jack Smith is the one that you saw his face, you recognize his face. Tall, slender guy, salt and pepper, black beard. But he might be hung out to dry. And as Jim said, I'm kind of hoping that he does get hung out to dry. It's ridiculous what's happened. What happened with the coal industry in the last 3 or 4 days, or last week? Anything?
Well, Trump opened up the national property.
Looking better, did what?
Trump opened up, coal reserves under the federal lands.
Exactly, what else? He opened up a lot of access to more coal. What else did he do? He's given the
$650 million, wasn't it?
$625 million to go back, because one of the things people said, if you don't fire up a coal-fired power plant like once a month, it will deteriorate to where you can't use it. Well, they needed money to go back in and prime it up and get it going again. Well, let me see if I can read this off to you. I might be able to find that for you. Hold on one second. I'll read exactly what came to us. Bear with me. I'm a high-tech redneck. $350 million for coal recommissioning and retrofit to get those plants up and running again. They may need new parts, they may need whatever. And this is all coal-fired power plants, not just West Virginia, but everywhere where there's good access to coal, Wyoming, Alabama, here, because we need electricity for what?
Industrial.
Industrial? What else?
Data centers.
Data centers, artificial intelligence. Now, they're saying right now that if we don't do this, supply and demand comes into play again, and they divert the electricity to these data centers, we're gonna have to pay a higher rate for utilities, so we need electricity. $175 million for rural capacity energy affordability projects. That money will be set aside to help people that are less fortunate, that need help with their bills. It's a big deal. $50 million to support the development and implementation of advanced wastewater management systems to clean up and make sure they don't have any acid runoff. One of the biggest problems we had with coal mining in general was the orange water. So now they're gonna try to put something in place prior to $25 million for engineering and implementation of dual firing retrofits. That's a big one. What's a dual firing retrofit?
Gas and coal.
Gas and coal. It will have the wherewithal, like it can burn gas or it can burn coal. Now, years ago, there's a group called PJM, which we've talked about a little bit. They kind of divert electricity up and down the East Coast depending upon where it's needed. But PJM used to open up the paper, and gas was up, they'd say burn coal. Coal was up, they'd say burn gas. So they said, this plant and this plant and this plant burns coal, run them. A couple days later, this plant, and this plant burns gas, fire them up. And they tried to keep the cost down. Well, now they're seeing if they can make it to where some of these plants, and I think Longview's in play. Longview's gonna be, trying to be retrofitted where they can do both. Harrison, you're gonna see an awful lot down there with natural gas. $25 million for development and testing of natural gas co-firing systems. That's the same thing. If you're a gas, you're gonna be retrofitted to be able to use coal in a time of need. What country during World War II used their coal to fire up a lot of their industry?
Germany.
Germany did. Funny you should know that, dude. I mean, the thing about it is the potential's there, and we're starting to get a little smarter.
That's how they made a lot of their gasoline.
Exactly. Okay, all right. Okay, and that came from Josh Holstein, who currently is the chair of the Republican Party in West Virginia. It's funny, I came in here this morning, I wanted to talk about a few things, and I had some notes here, and a couple people hit me right through it. Anybody know anything about the Rural Health Transformation Program for hospitals? When the big beautiful bill came out, the first thing the media said was that this is going to adversely affect rural hospitals. How would it adversely affect rural hospitals? Say Grafton or one up in Davis or whatever. How would it adversely affect those hospitals?
Eliminate the free healthcare for, like Medicare and stuff.
So Medicare, Medicaid, right.
People can't pay that, then they get it for free.
But here's the problem, is that we had a lot of people, and if you listen to the media, they say, well, the Constitution said there's no way you can have an illegal immigrant getting these benefits. But they do. They do. When you go to a hospital, the Hippocratic Oath says you have to help them, so somebody gets paid for the medication, the materials, the nurses, everybody that addressed that situation So guess what? That's what's happening. And then the more that these illegal immigrants get in the highly metropolitan areas, the less it's available for the people that actually paid into it. So that was all part of that situation with the big beautiful bill. But right now, there's a program out there that we're in the legislature, we just got this. There's a $50 billion nationwide set aside by the Trump administration, 50 billion with a B. West Virginia will probably get about 100 million annually if approved. Applications are due November 5th of this year, and the awards will be announced December 31st. What it is that we're gonna say, how do we, right now we have a real problem here in West Virginia with obesity. Sugar diabetes, smoking, several things, heart disease. So we're trying to say as a legislature, with the help of the health committee and government organizations, those two committees, what are the things we think we could spend our money the best on? They're gonna fill out this application, send it up the ladder. If we get it, we'll get the potential of $100 million a year for 5 years. Now, it can't be a program that addresses Leonard, Gene, and I for the next 8 months. Because once that's, they want something that you put it in place and it's there for many, many, many years. And if you qualify for it and you see great success, you can end up with more money. So these places that are supposedly gonna be adversely affected because there's not enough illegal immigrants going there for Medicaid, Medicare, we're gonna have this supplemental money to back it up. It's a good deal, it's a good deal. I think, I'm looking forward to it. So, we also talked about, as you know, I'm the chair for fire and EMS. We got $12 million for volunteer fire every year. I'm trying to get another 11 million for rescue squads. Rescue squads have 5 calls for every 1 fire call. It's just a given. There's more heart attacks, more strokes, more car wrecks, more than there are fire fully engulfed structures. So we're trying to get them money as well. This program will address something to a hospital, a rural hospital. I'm gonna find out if I can link the rescue squad to that hospital. Cause like Morgantown, Ruby has their own rescue squad, like their own EMS group. Ours, we have one here and we have one in Grantown. If I can link them some way to where they become eligible for this money, that might solve my problem. So we'll see how that works out, but that's an up and coming program. You're gonna hear more about that with the Rural Hospital Revitalization Program. Pretty good deal. What's the biggest deterrent for businesses coming here? You're gonna hear a lot about this between now and say February. We go back February 10th or 11th.
Travel.
Travel's
In and out.
big.
Getting stuff in and out.
Getting stuff in and out. That's a better answer than you realize.
Training,
Say it again.
training.
Training,
Yeah.
trained workforce. What else? I wanna bring a company to come in here, and I want them to come here and stay and operate and hire our kids and so forth. What's the biggest deterrent right now?
Addiction.
Well, that's a problem for them, you're right, Lynn, that's a problem. What's that?
Housing.
That's additional problem.
Schools.
But the biggest one for that industry is what? One big one for that industry. Inventory tax.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
They don't want inventory tax. You talk to the people that did Swank, that did our road up here. They're from Meadville, PA and Scottsdale, PA. And you know why? Because they don't pay an inventory tax for steel and concrete and equipment. And if you remember a couple years ago, it came out that Jim Justice has like all these pieces of equipment for his coal mines. Well, he owns, I forget how many acres it is, I had it at one time, let's say 30 acres. He owns 30 acres on the Kentucky-West Virginia line. And guess where all his equipment is domiciled? Kentucky, because there's no inventory tax. So we're wondering, like, why are all these companies around us coming in and doing why in the thunder aren't we doing it here? That's why. So consequently, what can they do to us when it comes for a contract?
Undersell it.
They can underbid us. They can underbid us because that fee is no longer part of the calculation. They can come in and say, hey, here's what we're gonna do, we'll give you, and by constitutional law in West Virginia, the legislature is obligated to take the lowest bid. We have to. Because if I came to you and said, Greg's always the lowest bid, and we'll talk about it, I won't say it, but you know, there's a company out there that gets a lot of work, it's not really reputable. But Greg always gets the bid because he's got the lowest bid. but then he goes over budget, it ends up costing us, and it's a problem. You have a bit higher bid, but I'm gonna go to the people and say, I'm gonna go to him because I like him better. The people are like, wait a minute, that's preferential treatment, that's special interest, you can't do that, you gotta go with the lowest bid. So, when you look long-term, and there are a couple companies out there right now in West Virginia that get bid after bid after bid, then they have a cost overrun, they come back, we thought it was gonna be 1.6 million, it's actually gonna be 1.8 million, and then we have problems with them down the road. It's very evident. So inventory tax is a big, big deal, we gotta figure out a way, but it got into a heated conversation there, and you all know me, I don't hold back on anything. I said, if you do this, you should do it over 10 years. Do it like 20%, 20%, 20%, 20, so 20, 40, 60, 80, and then see how it goes. And put a sunset clause on it that says every year we're gonna reevaluate where we are. Because the last thing you wanna have happen is like, we're gonna do away with inventory tax, 100%. It's a huge amount of money. Marshall County was the one number we pulled up. They get almost $6 billion. Marshall County, $6 billion in inventory equipment. So if you think across the state, 55 counties, okay, that was one of the things.
I realized that the inventory tax was the main reason Owens, Illinois shut down in this town.
Okay.
That was B and O. The city tax, the business and occupation tax.
Industries look at everything. If you're in industry, any of us, we got together, we're making ball caps. And we got a business and somebody says, hey, you know, if you move up to Meadville, PA, you can save $11 million a year. We may not do it right now, but eventually we're gonna be there. And we will transform and transition, and we'll go to where it better suits us. To that point, go to my next thing here. What's happening with education? Bad. They're all mad, they're all upset because charter schools and church academies are kicking their butt, and they hate it. They're mad about it. Hardesty came to us last session and said, I've got 9 counties that I'm jeopardizing making payroll. So we're gonna have to consolidate 2 counties with 1 county that's doing real well. Go ahead, Greg.
Did you watch, the chairman of the board in his, news conference? Remember when Statler was here and he said that if,
Section 18A
yeah.
of state code,
That long,
and he's,
charter schools that long.
but here's what's crazy.
In one sheet of paper.
Well, here's the thing. Charter schools are saying, we want this much to educate our kids and this much for our administrative people. Whereas 18A, over the last 75 years has said, we're gonna make this to where you can never fire Leonard. We're gonna make this, to where you can never jeopardize Linda. You can never make her go to another school. They have built a mode of protection around all their teachers, and they're about 54% what? 50, what's that? 54% of their people are administrative people. If you look, most superintendents, and I have it, I didn't get it home. Most superintendents make at least $150,000 a year. 2 of them make $212 and $200, Ohio and Mon County. That's what they make. Now, I talked to a teacher from Marshall County. She called me and she said, Mr. Mallow, I know, and she was very nice to me. She said, but I wanted to tell you something. She said, all this crap about teachers not making good money, she said, it's all relative to where you live.
Yes.
If you're making $60,000 a year in West Virginia, it's like making $110,000 in Allegheny County, up in Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh. And I said, I wish I had you on record. She said, I can't do that. She said, because I'll jeopardize my job. She said, I just want you to know that people, yes, they are starting out at 39.5 or something like that, based on their grades and transcripts and so forth. She said, but once you're someplace and once you get tenure, you start bumping up. She said, now a house that in downtown Pittsburgh is $400,000, you're buying down here for $212. Now she gave me the $212 number right off the cuff, which led me to believe, guess what? She bought a house for $212. So the fact of the matter is that we're looking at them, we're saying, and you guys have all heard it, I've said it 100 times, we need to consolidate these places. We had some numerics out there on South Dakota. South Dakota has half as many administrative people and twice as many children. So, hey buddy, So they're losing students here to charter schools and church academies, but they want more money. Wait a minute, there's something missed there. So once you start pointing out the problems to them, that like one, you're not putting out a good product, two, you come back every year for more money, then guess what they say? We need to readdress the school aid formula. Wait a minute. When the Democrats were in the majority, you all got everything you wanted and there was never a complaint. Now all of a sudden, I don't have enough money for this, I gotta do this, I gotta do that, but I'm making $62,000 a year. So, now they're saying about PEIA. PEIA is the benefit plan for the teachers. It does have its drawbacks, as every healthcare plan does. However, I would challenge any of you to take that PEIA plan and go out on the open market and compare what you're getting for what someone's paying for you, and take a look at it. And in this meeting that I spoke up, I said, wait a minute. You want us to raise the sales tax on everybody in the state, particularly people that don't have any benefits at all, so you all can have a free premium.
Right.
That's bull.
Amen.
That's just not right. That's just not right. So I talked to one gentleman down there, and he was approachable. He came up to me afterwards, and we were talking. I said, "Well, what do you do?" He said, "I'm a teacher." I said, "Well, what does your wife do?" "Well, she's a teacher too." I said, "So let me get that." I said, "You probably make more than $100,000 a year." And he just kind of like, He knew that where I was going with it. I'm like, you're making $100,000 a year, and you got someone making $34,000 a year trying to make ends meet, and you want to penalize them so you can have an even better situation.
Right.
That's not fair. That's not right, and I won't do that. So, I mean, if I get down in flames, then you're going to hear Joey Garcia say, "Oh, you need to do this for the teachers," because they're a 220,000 person voting block. There's 75,000 PEIA members and their families. So if you have a son or daughter that voting age, all of a sudden, they're out there voting for something that doesn't even affect them. You may have a son or daughter that's 25 years old, they go out and vote because you want it, and guess what? People like that, they'll tell those, that right in front of them, tell them what they want to hear because that's a vote. I'm not gonna do that. That's not right. That's not right to do for the rest of West Virginia. And Hardesty, as he says, this is what I'm up against. This is what you created. This is what you and your lobbyists went down there and twisted arms or paid somebody to put something in place. And you remember when Greg brought up Joe Statler. Joe Statler had been on the education committee like 2 years, and then he went off and then went back down to the House of Delegates. He told us, he said, it's this thick. And it's like just one thing after another to protect them and keep them from being challenged. Well, guess what? Over the last 3 or 4 years, we pushed through Parents' Choice. Here's your $5,000
Yes.
of the $14,600 that we're given. Here's $4,600 to $5,000. You decide. Now, if you're Catholic and you send your child to a Catholic school, guess what? I'm paying the tax and I'm paying my tuition at the Catholic school. Now I get that, I can give that to that, and or a church academy or a micropod or whatever. Now, if you talk to the folks at City on the Hill, the Moores, is that his name? Scott Moore, golfer?
Yeah.
His wife, I can't remember her name right now, she was here. They picked up 70 more kids for this year. Now, I mean, when you have something like this group saying, we're losing kids. We lost 780 kids, that's what they told me at the board meeting. We lost 780 kids. I said, what, did they move? Did they move out of state? No. They went to charter school. And now guess what they're finding out? The SAT and the ACT scores of the seniors going into college are better from the ones they're tracking.
Did
Competition.
you see the news this morning paper about that?
No, go ahead.
8th grader, you're in Marion County, scored 100% on the 8th grade.
Oh yeah, that's that Rohally
Didn't
boy.
say what school he went to.
That's that Ryo Rohally. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's Chris Pilata's grandson. Yeah. But the fact of the matter is that the system will work if the parents are involved. If the parents hold them accountable, but the horror stories we hear about, this kid's like in the 11th grade, he's a great athlete, but he can't read. This is 2025, folks. Now, a couple years ago, we put aside $30 million for a teacher's aide in every first grade and a teacher's aide in every second grade.
No child be left behind.
Well, that's what they said. They were left behind because we rushed through it, but
Yeah, they push them through. There's no.
$30 million for each one of those was to help these kids, because we were told that if a kid can't read by the third grade, he or she is already at a disadvantage. So and guess what? Their reading scores are getting better now in the fourth grade. Yeah, Jim?
So one of the big problems with, you were talking about the three categories, but the homeschoolers, that we don't have enough regulations set up for homeschooling. I think it's a wonderful idea, but you have to have some kind of guidance there. There should be some kind of end test to see
Well,
that by the end of, it's all three of them. In first grade, you should be able to do these 5 things. If you can't do those 5 things, if you're in regular school, you get held back. If you're homeschooled, you better find somebody else.
They don't hold you back in regular school, no, they pass you no matter.
Well, that's-
what.
Now, they're supposed to be changing.
Well, the
Coming
thing
next
about it
year.
is, that last year in the legislature, to June's point, we passed a bill that says now we have oversight of what the Board of Education does. So if we see something like that happening, we gotta address it and say, why did you pass this person on when they couldn't qualify? But historically, fourth grade, eighth grade, and 11th grade reading and math were terrible. Hey, Jim?
To June's statement, I homeschooled, my wife homeschooled, I helped, 3 kids. 1 PhD, 2 master's degree, all at WVU. One worked for the state agriculture department. He's head of some department. I can't remember what James does. Doesn't matter. The part that she's saying is true is because I know personally people who homeschool, who an individual female who's responsible for the homeschool, and they have 10 children. There's a kid that's 8 years old that can't even write his letters. She's lazy, this is the way it is. Are they out there? Yes, they are. But I can tell you that my sister-in-law, people that I go to church with, who you're familiar with, I won't mention names.
Yeah.
Homeschool their kids, they do the reporting requirements.
The
Sometimes-
evaluations at the end of the year.
Sometimes the state doesn't do their job and even follow up
Yeah.
on, what are you doing? The majority of homeschoolers do a tremendous job.
Yeah.
There's that percentage out there and everything, you got good cops, bad cops, good FBI guys, bad FBI guys, good
Right.
representatives, bad ones, okay?
Sure.
They're out there, but I will agree with her on this issue that the ones that aren't doing the job, it's up to us. Now, I haven't done it, okay? I know these people, they're friends. You gotta pick the phone up and go, listen, DHHR, job protective, whatever. These people aren't doing their job.
Stop there a
And
second.
I'm guilty.
When someone, Jack, I got your question on, but when someone sees something and they don't say anything, that's how you have instances where that little girl died down
Yes.
there in the southern part of the state.
Yes.
They took her out of school because she wasn't being fed, she wasn't being clothed, so we're gonna homeschool her. So they said we're gonna homeschool her. They put her in a shed and she died.
And she died.
She was 12 or 13 years old, I think. That's crazy. And to your point, Jim, too many people are like, I don't wanna get involved, I don't wanna say anything, but we should have said something. Yeah, Jack?
Didn't the legislature do anything about discipline in schools?
Yeah, we did last year. Actually, we have behavioral problems, but this is kind of a squirrely thing. Listen to this. Teachers came to us and said, we want help with behavior problems, because one child can get up and jump and scream and carry on and throw stuff, and they can't do anything with that person. The only thing they can do is get all the other kids up and get them out of the room. So they want to put like a little padded corner in the room, and the teacher has padded things on their arms, and they hold the child in that room till he settles down, okay? So, 2 years ago, we had and Linda, help me, what's the terminology? It's not handicapped, disabled, what do they call it now?
I'm trying to.
Special ed.
Special needs.
Like special ed type child, yeah. There's a new, more politically correct, I don't wanna offend anybody that may have a son or daughter or granddaughter, but I know someone that's Down syndrome. His mom and dad says, you need to do that, brush your teeth, you need to do this, you need to do that. Guess what? He has 2 jobs. He has 2 jobs. And he will talk to you about the weather, his animals, his car. And other people are like, there, don't say anything, have another piece of cake. And the kid grows up not being able to do anything.
Right.
So, the fact of the matter is that it's an accountability tool. We've got to watch them. We've got to do the right thing by them. But There was a thing came out on the Eastern Panhandle, a woman grabbed a disabled child and jerked him around, maybe slapped him because he was acting up or she was acting up, I can't remember what it was. But anyway, it came as a result of, hey, we want to put a camera up